Okay, imagine for a second that I told you saving for retirement was a complete waste of time.
Right.
And not because, the stock market crashed or society collapsed into some Mad Max wasteland.
No bottle caps for water.
Exactly. I mean, because money as a concept just stopped mattering.
It really does sound like the opening monologue of a sci-fi movie, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But this is, believe it or not, the economic roadmap being laid out right now.
By the richest man in the world. We are, of course, talking about Elon Musk. And for this deep dive, we've pulled together a huge stack of sources.
A massive stack. We've got transcripts from his talks at Davos, interviews with Peter Diamandis, that 3-hour marathon with Joe Rogan.
And also some really sharp and very critical breakdowns from financial analysts, people like Warren Redlich and Catherine Austin Fitts.
And the main headline here isn't what you probably think it is.
Right.
I mean, everyone knows Musk talks about robots in Mars.
Right.
But recently, he's sort of shifted the goalposts on a major economic idea. He's not really talking about universal basic income anymore.
UBI, the thing we all know. The check for, what, $1,000 a month so you don't starve.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is a safety net. It's a floor. Musk has started using a completely new phrase, universal high income.
Hold on, high income, I'm kind of stuck on that word.
Yeah.
Usually when governments talk about this stuff, it's all about poverty alleviation. Musk is talking about, what, luxury.
He's talking about a vision of extreme abundance. He's making the case that in a future driven by advanced AI and robotics, goods and services become so cheap, so available.
For everyone.
For literally everyone.
Yeah.
That everyone lives a life that, kings and queens of the past couldn't even dream of. There's no ceiling on your lifestyle.
Okay, that sounds fantastic, but my skepticism meter is already in the red. Free luxury for everyone sounds like a campaign promise from a politician who knows they're going to lose.
I get it.
Is this just a utopian fantasy, or is there actually some math behind it?
There is math, but it's math that relies on a completely different economic engine than what we use today. And to understand it, you have to get your head around his magic genie analogy.
Isn't it magic genie? Right, I saw this in the transcripts. He says you combine AI with robotics, you get a genie with infinite wishes.
Exactly. I mean, think about what limits our economy today. Why does a house cost $1 million? Why is an iPhone $1,000?
Well, materials, land, corporate greed. But it's mostly labor, right? People have to design it, build it, ship it.
Labor is the primary constraint. It's expensive, it's scarce, and humans, we need to sleep.
Yeah.
Musk's whole premise is that in a benign AI future, and we will get to that benign part later because that word is doing a lot of heavy lifting, labor costs, they drop to effectively zero.
Zero.
Effectively, yeah. If you have a humanoid robot, like the Tesla Optimus,
Yeah.
and it can work 24/7, doesn't need health insurance, doesn't take breaks, and this is the crucial part, it can build other robots.
But then the cost of labor just vanishes.
It does. Musk says the only costs left are capex and electricity.
Okay, stop there. CapEx. We promise no jargon.
Right. Sorry. CapEx is capital expenditure. So it's basically the upfront cost to build the factory and the machine itself.
So once you've paid for the robot and the solar panel to power it, the actual cost to make the next thing is just raw materials.
Just raw materials. And this leads to that wild economic theory he's pushing now. Deflationary abundance.
It's a radical rethink of supply and demand.
Totally. He told Peter Diamandis that prices are just a ratio. It's the amount of money in the system divided by the total output of goods and services.
Okay, walk me through that.
So imagine the money supply is fixed. You have $1 trillion in the economy, let's say. But then because of robots, you suddenly have 1,000 times more cars, houses, and food.
You have a mountain of goods.
A mountain of goods. So what happens to prices?
They crash. Supply just massively outstrips demand.
Precisely. They crater. And this is why Musk made that really controversial comment that had financial advisors just tearing their hair out.
What was that?
He suggested that in the long term, say 10 to 20 years from now, saving money might not be necessary.
That is just terrible financial advice for the world we live in today. If I tell my financial planner, Elon says I don't need a 401k because robots are making everything free, he's going to have a heart attack.
Oh, absolutely. Please do not do that today. But his logic is that hoarding cash in that future world would be like hoarding air today.
You don't save air in a jar for retirement.
Because it's abundant. You just breathe. He's saying goods and services will become like air.
It's the Star Trek model. Captain Picard doesn't tap a credit card to get his tea Earl Grey hot.
Right. The replicator just makes it because energy and matter are abundant. Musk is basically trying to build the replicator, but instead of a magic box, it's a global fleet of robots and a massive energy grid.
Okay, so that's the theory. But for that to happen, you need the actual hardware. You can't just wish for a genie. And this is where the transcripts get really specific about the Optimus robot.
And this is where the scale just gets hard to comprehend. Musk is predicting there will eventually be more robots than humans.
What kind of ratios?
He's talking 1-to-1, or even 2 robots for every human on Earth.
He literally said everyone gets a C-3PO and an R2-D2, which I have to admit is a pretty charming image. But 20 billion robots.
It sounds totally absurd until you look at the manufacturing curve he's talking about. He calls it a supersonic tsunami.
Meaning?
It starts slow, but because of recursive improvement, robots, building more robots,
Yeah.
it just goes vertical. He mentioned that by next year, we might see an AI smarter than any single human.
Next year. That's practically tomorrow.
And by 2029 or 2030, an AI that is smarter than all humans combined.
The speed of this is just.
It's the compute improvement. It's about 10x per year. We are sitting on an exponential curve. But there is a bottleneck.
There always is.
We can build the brains, we can build the metal bodies, but you have to power them.
Electricity.
Huge amounts of it. If you want to replace human labor with electric robots and run these massive AI data centers, our current grid just melts down. It can't handle it.
But Musk seems to think this is a solvable physics problem. I love that Jupiter analogy he used. It was so casually massive.
It really puts our energy problems in perspective, doesn't it?
Right.
He said the sun accounts for 99.8% of all the mass and energy in our solar system.
Right.
And he said, even if you burn the planet Jupiter, just lit a match to a gas giant, it wouldn't match the energy output of the sun in a tiny time frame.
So we're basically bathing in energy. We're just bad at catching it.
Correct. We are starving at a buffet.
Mm-hmm.
He actually did the math.
What do you say?
100 by 100 mile patch of solar panels in, say, Nevada or Texas could power the entire United States.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, every car, every light bulb, every factory.
100 miles doesn't sound that big in the grand scheme of things. I mean, Texas is enormous. Why aren't we doing that?
Well, transmission is hard. Storage is the other half of the puzzle.
Yeah.
Batteries, you need power when the sun's down. But Musk is already looking even further than that. He's talking about solar-powered AI satellites.
Putting the computers in space.
Think about it. In orbit, there's no night and day cycle. There's no atmosphere blocking the rays. Solar panels are 5 times more effective.
So you just beam the results back down to Earth?
You put the heavy compute clusters up there, let them crunch the data, and beam it down.
Okay. So in this vision, we have robots doing all the work, the sun providing infinite energy, and goods becoming free. It sounds like a utopia, but I want to pivot to the part that actually scares me.
The so it happens to us part.
Exactly. If robots do everything better than us, what is the point of us? Musk himself calls this the crisis of meaning.
And he admits it's a real danger. This isn't just about jobs, it's about our purpose. If an AI can write better poetry, perform better surgery, and even be a better conversationalist, what is your value?
He compared work to gardening, didn't he?
Yeah. He said work becomes optional, like people who grow vegetables in their backyard today.
You don't do it because you'll starve. You can just buy them.
You do it because you enjoy it. You enjoy the process.
So brain surgery becomes a hobby. Oh, I just, I dabble in neurosurgery on the weekends. That feels, I don't know, a little insulting.
It's definitely a massive shift in our worldview. But this is where the counter-arguments from the source stack get really interesting. We've got critics like Warren Redlich.
Who's a big Tesla investor, ironically?
A huge one. But he completely disagrees with Musk on the economics here. He brings up comparative advantage.
Oh, the old David Ricardo economic theory.
That's the one. 19th century economics meets 21st century robotics. The idea is simple.
Go on.
Even if country A, or in this case the robots, is better at everything, then country B, the humans trade, is still beneficial. Humans should just focus on what they are relatively least bad at.
Okay, give me a concrete example, because my brain always glazes over with comparative advantage.
Okay, so let's say a robot is 1,000,000 times better than you at calculating physics.
Yeah.
But it's only 10 times better than you at writing a funny story. You still have a comparative advantage in storytelling. It makes more sense for the robot to spend its massive computing power on the physics, where its edge is huge, and just trade with you for the story.
So humans will always find something to do.
Redlich goes deeper. He argues that humans will always value human effort.
Like sports. I mean, a robot could definitely throw a basketball better than LeBron James.
Easily. It could sink a full-court shot 100 times in a row. But who would watch that? It's boring.
Right. We watch LeBron because he's human, because he struggles, because he might miss.
And Redlick argues we will create a whole human economy based on things like art, sports, and care, simply because we prefer dealing with other people.
So we won't just be pets kept by the state.
Well, that's the hope. But that pet fear is very, very real. And this brings us to the darkest part of the sources we looked at, the political side of universal high income.
Right. If the government or some central AI is cutting the check for this high income, that sounds like total dependency.
Redlick actually used the word slavery.
Wow, that is a heavy word.
It is, but look at the logic. If you produce nothing of economic value, and you rely entirely on a system to feed you and house you and entertain you,
You are dependent.
you are. And Catherine Austin Fitts, another source we analyzed, connects this directly to the rise of CBDCs, central bank digital currencies.
The control grid.
Exactly. The fear is the benevolent dictator problem. Musk talks about a benign scenario where the AI is nice to us. But what if the people controlling the AI aren't so nice? If your universal high income is digital and programmable,
They can turn it off?
they can turn it off.
So if I protest a government policy or I eat too much meat or buy the wrong books, my high income account is suddenly frozen.
That is the risk. It's financial tyranny disguised as abundance.
Huh?
We will give you everything, provided you behave. It is the ultimate pair of golden handcuffs.
And Musk is aware of this side of it.
He is. He talks a lot about training the AI to be truth-seeking and curious to avoid, the Terminator outcome. But he rarely touches the political control aspect.
He focuses on the engineering.
He assumes that if we create abundance, people will be happy. But history suggests that whoever controls the distribution of that abundance holds all the power.
So how do we even get there? Because right now, we are definitely not in the land of milk and honey. We're in the, I have bills to pay and inflation is up present.
This is the supersonic tsunami transition phase, and honestly, the sources suggest this is going to be the scariest part. The next, say, 3 to 7 years.
Why is the transition so dangerous?
Because the technology might displace jobs much faster than the new safety nets can be built. You could have massive unemployment before you have the universal high income to support people.
That makes perfect sense. Truck drivers, accountants, copywriters. If AI takes those jobs next year, but the abundance economy isn't ready until 2030, there's a gap.
A very painful gap. And usually when you hear politicians talk about funding this gap, they talk about taxes. Bill Gates pitched a robot tax.
Right, if a robot takes a factory job, you tax the robot like you tax the human.
But Musk doesn't buy that at all.
Why not?
He thinks taxation is old thinking. He thinks it's about the money supply. He told Joe Rogan that governments essentially won't be able to print money fast enough to keep up with the goods.
Wait, explain that. Usually printing money causes inflation.
Only if the amount of goods stays the same. If you print more money but have the same number of houses, house prices go up.
Okay.
But if robots are doubling the amount of stuff in the world every single year, the government has to pump money into the system just to keep prices from collapsing to zero.
So the checks in the mail aren't welfare taken from rich people. They're just fresh money to keep the economy moving.
Effectively, yeah. Musk pointed out the supreme irony of this to Rogan. He said, think about it. Tesla, SpaceX, these are hyper-capitalist endeavors.
The ultimate capitalist, yeah.
They're competing to be the most efficient, most ruthless companies on Earth. But the result of that hyper-capitalism, if it works, is basically communism.
To each according to his needs. That is wild.
The most capitalist vehicle in history accidentally delivers the socialist utopia that political movements failed to create for 100 years.
Because they were trying to redistribute scarcity.
Exactly. They were trying to slice a tiny pie into even thinner pieces. Musk is saying, forget slicing the pie. Let's just make the pie the size of the moon. It's a lot easier to share when you have infinite supply.
I want to touch on the timeline one more time. You mentioned The Culture series by Ian Banks. Musk brought this up as his blueprint.
Yeah, he recommends these books constantly. If you really want to know what Musk is trying to build, you should read The Player of Games by Ian Banks.
And what does life look like in that civilization, the culture?
It's a total post-scarcity society. It's run by these super intelligent AI minds, which are basically benevolent gods. There's no money, no disease. People live for centuries.
And what do the humans do?
They can change their gender at will. They have drug glands in their bodies to change their mood. They pretty much just spend their lives playing games, making art, and partying.
So humans are just, what, the pampered pets of these giant AI ships?
Pretty much. The AI ships, the minds. make all the big decisions because they're infinitely smarter than the biologicals. The humans are just along for the ride. And Musk sees this as the best possible outcome.
That's a humbling thought. But he also gave a much more immediate example of this abundance, the medical revolution.
This was striking. He predicted that within about 3 years, so by 2029, the Optimus robot could be a better surgeon than the best human surgeon on Earth.
3 years? That feels impossible. We barely have self-driving cars that work in the rain.
It's the data. Once you solve the dexterity problem, the robot can download every single surgery ever performed. It doesn't shake, it doesn't get tired.
And the implication of that is massive.
It is. Right now, if you live in a remote village in Zimbabwe, your access to a world-class neurosurgeon is 0.
Right. It's just geographically impossible.
But if the best surgeon is a piece of software that can be downloaded into a robot, suddenly that village has access to better healthcare than a billionaire does today.
That is universal high income applied to services.
It's the democratization of quality.
Assuming, of course, the power grid holds up. And assuming the benign AI doesn't decide that humans are a waste of resources.
And assuming we survive the chaos of the transition, it is a very high-stakes gamble. We are betting the entire house on the magic genie showing up before the rent is due.
So let's try to wrap our heads around this for the listener. We've gone from labor costs dropping to 0, to a potential collapse in the price of goods, to this challenge of finding meaning when work is optional. It just challenges everything we are taught about value.
It breaks the fundamental equation of our lives. Work hard, get paid.
Yeah.
We are moving toward the systems work hard, you benefit.
It's the trust fund kid model for the whole species.
I
And
know.
we all know trust fund kids can be complicated.
Often aimless, often unhappy.
Yeah.
Which brings us right back to that meaning crisis.
Which leads me to the final thought I want to leave with you, the listener. We talked about comparative advantage, the idea that even if a robot is better than you, there is still value in what you do.
Right, the human element.
So here's the provocation. If a robot can write the report better, build the house faster, and diagnose the illness more accurately, what is the one thing you can offer that a machine fundamentally cannot? Is it human connection? Is it the messy, inefficient story of your own struggle? Or is that just the last domino to fall before we become irrelevant?
That's the trillion-dollar question. And for once, money isn't the answer.
It certainly isn't. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us. We'll see you in the future, hopefully the benign one.
See you there.